Hey guys, I'm back with a new video, this time with some raw thoughts on the Video Game Awards 2015, now called the Game Awards, formerly the VGAs. But anyways, Jeff Keighley's show from Spike TV, and I am doing this raw because that is the only way I'm going to get through it. I'm just going to get this off right out of the first part. I did not enjoy it very much. It was kind of depressing to watch. I feel it'd be fitting to talk about the categories first and who was nominated and who won. I'm not going to cover every single one of them because I don't want to bore everyone to death, but we'll talk a little bit about the categories that kind of rub me the wrong way or I feel that are worth talking about. First off, and probably the only positive thing I'm going to mention is Best Fan Creation. I'm not going to mention all of the names of the ones that were nominated because you're probably not going to know most of them. But the winner was Portal Stories Mel, which is on Steam. That was a really fun little single-player mod for Portal 2. I'm glad to see that they won. It was a fan-voted category. Good for them. Alright, now, here we go. Trending Gamer, another fan-voted category. Up for nomination, we have Total Biscuit, Greg Miller, Markiplier, and PewDiePie. Now, the winner was Greg Miller. Now, riddle me this. Total Biscuit has like 2 million subscribers. I believe Markiplier has around 10 million, and PewDiePie has 40 million subscribers, which is damn impressive. Greg Miller has like 155,000. Now, if I had to pick my favorite out of this list, which, oh god, it'd probably be Total Biscuit or Greg Miller. I'm not a huge fan of any of these guys, but Total Biscuit and Greg Miller, they're alright guys. It is shocking that Greg Miller won, and it's also a little bit strange because this is a fan-voted category, and you would assume that I don't want to say necessarily that the guy that has the most subscribers would win, but you'd feel that it would err more towards that than it would the guy with the least amount of subscribers, right? So, and I don't know if Greg Miller was rallying his fan base to all go on the website and vote for him, but I just find it a little bit odd that Greg Miller won the award with his low subscriber count, and low subscriber count relative to the other people in the category, obviously not in general. But, good for him, though. I'm glad he got it. I don't like PewDiePie that much, so better him, but all I'm saying, a little bit weird. Had to mention it. Alright. Next up, we have Best Multiplayer Game of 2015. The nominees of which are Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Destiny the Taken King, Halo 5 Guardians, Rocket League, and Splatoon for Wii U. Now, the winner was, well, you know what? Let's just go down the list. Alright, Black Ops 3. I played the beta, and I fucking hated it. Destiny the Taken King. That really shouldn't even be nominated. It's not, that's a fucking expansion pack. Halo 5 Guardians. Halo 5 Guardians has such a fantastic multiplayer. It is so rock solid. It feels great. It's the best Halo multiplayer in a long ass time, and I loved it. It deserves all the recognition it gets. And then Rocket League, don't like Rocket League. A lot of people love Rocket League, not my thing, but nonetheless, a lot of people love that game, and it could deserve recognition within its own right. And then we have Splatoon. I know a lot of people love Splatoon too. I don't like Splatoon, but that was the winner. Now, if I was to pick, I'd give it to Halo 5, but Splatoon, I didn't even know people had Wii U's. Alright, next up. Here we go. Best Performance of the Year of 2015. We had up for nomination Chloe Price from Life is Strange, Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, Geralt from The Witcher 3, of course, and Mark Hamill as the Joker in Batman Arkham Knight, which is kind of a spoiler if you haven't played that game. And the female character, the only character in Her Story. And the winner was Her Story. Jesus Christ. this is really disheartening. You've got Mark Hamill as the Joker, and I did not like Arkham Knight that much at all. I thought it was a pretty bland game, especially considering the past 2 Arkham games. But Mark Hamill as the Joker, I mean, you really can't be beating that. And Geralt in The Witcher 3, the sheer amount of dialogue that he had to do, and he reached such a high bar, or high quality voice acting at the sheer amount he had to do, I think he should have won. That's just my opinion. Do with it what you will. Next up, we have the Best Score Soundtrack of the Year. Nominations are Fallout 4, Halo 5 Guardians, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, Ori and the Blind Forest, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I felt by far and away probably one of the only noteworthy scores of the year to me was Bloodborne, and Bloodborne had an amazing original soundtrack, fantastic original soundtrack, added so much to the game, and in its own right, just judging it in a fucking vacuum, it's amazing. The winner here was Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. The OST, the original soundtrack in Metal Gear Solid 5, I didn't think was like worthy of note whatsoever. The soundtrack, like the licensed music, I guess there was some good tracks in there, but really, are we going to give an award based on just that? I feel Bloodborne really got snubbed in this category, and I'm a little upset about that. I'm not salty about it, but I'm a little upset about it. All right, next up, we have the one that really rubbed me the wrong way. Best Art Direction of the Year. We have Batman Arkham Knight, Bloodborne, MGS5, Ori and the Blind Forest, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, the winner was Ori and the Blind Forest. I feel like I need to preface this a little bit. I have nothing against Ori and the Blind Forest. In fact, when it was first revealed at Xbox's E3, I even put it on a list like, hey, look out for these games, indie games-wise. Up there with Cuphead, which I can see winning this award. But that's something else entirely. Ori and the Blind Forest, art style-wise, to me, is like dime a fucking dozen. I could name you like 25 other indie games, and you could probably find like 500 on Steam that look the same as Ori and the Blind Forest. And while it's not an indie game, Rayman Legends, as someone pointed out to me, looks and plays actually very similar to Ori and the Blind Forest, but just on a pure art style visual level, I don't feel Ori and the Blind Forest is doing anything remarkable whatsoever, especially when compared against Bloodborne. I feel Bloodborne had one of the most unique art styles I have seen in a video game in a long, long, long time. It's so striking, and while the Gothic art style is nothing original or new, it's relatively a unique thing in a video game, and the boss designs in Bloodborne, the monster designs, are out of this world. And to riff further on that Gothic tangent, the further you get through Bloodborne, the more and more esoteric it gets, the more original it gets, the less Gothic it gets, to the point where the monsters become more fantastical and alien-like. I just think it's outrageous that Bloodborne didn't win in this. It's completely shocking to me. I don't understand it, and I feel like Bloodborne really got snubbed in this category. Alright, next one. Best Narrative. For nominees, we have Her Story, Life is Strange, Tales from the Borderlands by Telltale, and The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. Oh, also Until Dawn. Now, the winner was Her Story, so that's 2 awards for Her Story so far. And I don't want to hate on Her Story too much, but Her Story is like barely a game, if you could even call it that. It's basically an FMV point and click with movie files to watch. I think that out of all these titles, I think The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt should have got Best Narrative. While I didn't like The Witcher 3 that much at all, I didn't like the combat. I thought that the story and the side quests and the narrative, fantastic in that game, far and away. I feel like The Witcher 3 did get a lot of awards in this show. Some of them I don't feel deserved, but narrative-wise, out of these nominees, Witcher 3 hands down by a long shot, so that's a little bit surprising to me. Alright, we're almost done, but there's 2 more we have to talk about. First of the 2 being Developer of the Year. Nominees, we have CD Projekt Red, FromSoft, Kojima Productions, Nintendo, and Bethesda. Now, the winner was CD Projekt Red. I feel hands down, out of all these 5, Kojima Productions should go down as Developer of the Year. The sheer technical prowess of the Fox engine blows any of these other guys out of the water. The Fox engine, what they've achieved with that on console, on PS4 and Xbox One, is nothing short of a miracle. That game does not drop a single frame ever on console, and it maintains that bar of visual fidelity and clarity. It's downright depressing that they didn't win this Developer of the Year award. And I kind of want to know what Developer of the Year means to them. Like, does that mean the best game of the year? But then why is there 2 categories? To me, Developer of the Year should be the person who showed the most technical prowess on a technical level. And to me, that was by far and away Kojima Productions with their Fox engine. And finally, we have the Game of the Year. The nominees being The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Bloodborne, Fallout 4, MGS5, and Super Mario Maker. The winner was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This didn't surprise me at all. You could have seen this coming a fucking mile away. I'm relatively okay with that, but I feel personally that Bloodborne should have won. Again, one of the more unique experiences this year, by far and away. One of the more unique experiences in a long time in general as well. And the gameplay, top notch. I feel Bloodborne overall really got snubbed in all these categories. Bloodborne didn't take home a single award. That's really depressing to me, because in a year like this where all of the games, they weren't, I wouldn't say they were disappointing or bad, but on the whole, I'd say they were just kind of samey and not doing much to impress me or blow me away. But Bloodborne was the one game I played this year that managed to smash my expectations and really impress me and deliver something new and truly different and fresh. Alright, now so we've got all the nominees and winners of the categories out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about the world reveals. Alright, so first off, we were treated to a Uncharted 4 cinematic trailer, which we probably would have seen at the PSX anyway, but whatever. I didn't think there was much to note there with that trailer, but what is notable is that Uncharted 4 has clearly been graphically downgraded, but even worse than that, it's been downgraded from 60 FPS to 30, which I don't know why I didn't notice that sooner. Please let me know down below when that happened. I had no idea that had happened. But the multiplayer is still 60 FPS, but it's 900p. Single player is 1080p, 30 frames. That's very, very disappointing, because I was very impressed that Naughty Dog came forward. Back when they revealed Uncharted 4, they said, hey, 60 frames a second is our target. We think it's super important. I am a strong proponent of high frame rates. I couldn't agree more. I think it makes a huge difference to your game, not just gameplay-wise, but visually, too. Like, it makes the game look better, in my opinion, to have it running at a higher frame rate. But, yeah, that's Uncharted 4, so that was a little bit disappointing. So 2 more of the world reveals, I'm just going to lump them together, were 2 more fucking Telltale games. And at this point, I am so sick of having Telltale games shoved down my throat. It seems like every E3, every press conference, there's another fucking Telltale game. And you think, like this time they had, it's Batman and Michonne from The Walking Dead, a spin-off miniseries kind of thing, which, you know, whatever. Do with that what you will. But they were showing the Batman thing, and I figured out halfway through, I thought it was going to be like a Justice League game or something like that, by Rocksteady. But then the Batman logo comes up and it's like a Telltale game. It's becoming like a meme now, like a fucking joke in and of itself. Like, you know, Half-Life, you know, Valve comes on stage, Half-Life, Tales from the Half-Life. It's like, Jesus Christ. I can't be the only one who's starting to think these Telltale games are wearing a little bit thin. I'm on their website right now, and I'm going to rattle off the simultaneous series they have going on right now. So right now they have Minecraft Story Mode, Tales from the Borderlands, Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, and now add on to that Batman. That is just way too much, and I'm expected to get excited every time they show me another Telltale game. They show 2 more Telltale games in one night. That's just fucking crazy. I mean, it also shows how desperate they were for world reveals, but anything more than that, like Jesus Christ, I'm sick of Telltale games. And I played The Wolf Among Us season 1. I don't know, is there a season 2? I don't know. I played Wolf Among Us season 1, Walking Dead season 1, a little bit of Walking Dead season 2, and then I played there was the 400 Days, the bonus episode for season 1, I believe. And those were they're pretty good games. They're all right. They're all right story-wise, but the engine that they use is terrible. It's awful. Like, and it doesn't get better. Like, it seems like it just gets worse. And you're like fighting the game to get it to work. It's like people think Bethesda is bad with their engine, with the creation engine. It's like, no, this is fucking bad. If they're gonna keep getting all these high-profile IP, it kind of baffles me that they don't, take the initiative and be like, hey guys, we really need to make a new fucking engine because this is just getting ridiculous. It's a little bit embarrassing, actually. And then they showed a trailer for Quantum Break, which I have been mildly interested in. I thought it looked really good last E3, or Gamescom rather. It's the same people who made Alan Wake. The developer's name is slipping my mind right now, but Alan Wake, fantastic game, very underrated game, and Quantum Break seems to be following in that same mold. But I do have to say, every time I see it, the less I like it. Like, it just becomes more and more generic, to the point of last night at the Video Game Awards, where it felt so generic and dry, and it really didn't interest me that much. I'll still pick up the game, and then they keep trying to sell this idea of a game and a movie in one, or a game and a TV show rather in one, which seems to be an old hang-on from the fucking OG Xbox One days when they were going to shove TV down our throats with the mandatory Kinect. But I'm lukewarm on this game. I'm like halfway between giving a fuck and not giving one, so we'll have to wait and see until it pans out. It's coming out on April 5th, so we don't have to wait too much longer for Quantum Break, but I'm not going to get all excited about it, that's for sure. Another world premiere worth mentioning was the Far Cry Primal game, and assuming that Far Cry Primal is like, Far Cry 4's Blood Dragon equivalent, except it appears to be a full $60 game, a full retail release, Far Cry Primal. This is one of those games that sounds really good. Like, when you read it, you're like, oh, that sounds pretty decent. But watching the gameplay, it looked anything but. It just kind of looked like they took the scenes from Far Cry 4 where you were, like, high inside of the paintings or whatever the fuck. It's like they took that and just made a whole game out of it, which feels boring to me. I am not holding out any hope for this game. I'm probably not going to pick it up, to be completely honest. I have no interest in it at all. This is coming from someone. I loved Far Cry 3. I thought Far Cry 3 was a really good game, and I actually thought the story in that game was really good too. But when Far Cry 4 came out, I'm like, oh, more Far Cry 3, awesome. And then I played it, and Far Cry 4 just kind of went one ear out the other for me. It tried to, narratively wise, capitalize on what Far Cry 3 was doing. They tried to have another Voss, and it's like, you can't do that again. They'll never be able to rekindle that. It was kind of a sleeper hit, Far Cry 3, and they're trying to, recapitalize on that, and it won't happen. So I'm not holding out hope for Far Cry Primal. It's probably just going to be another Far Cry 3.75. So, look, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, because this Game Awards and last year's were way better than 2 years ago when they had Joel McHale and it was just downright insulting to the viewer. But I criticize these. I still find issue with these Game Awards, and I do that because I want them to be good, not because I hate them and I want them to die. I want them to be good. It's just, it seems like they're not. Jeff Keighley is not learning from the blunders and what people aren't liking. The world reveals were pretty fucking terrible, and I understand that PSX is right around the corner, and I wonder if they'll have anything, because they barely had anything last year, but that's besides the point. The world reveals this year, you got 2 Telltale games, Shaq Fu, which is clearly not ironic. I think they're being like semi-serious, which is just sad. And you've got DLC for Tomb Raider. It's just like, maybe world premiere, maybe you should just not do that if you don't have anything good, or maybe not call them world premieres. And there was also the real issue of the presentation of the awards, they try to make it this big extravagant thing, and I'll try to get a picture for this video. Somebody took a hilarious tweet from the audience of these people in the front that were like waving their hands and shit during the music, and they were like paid audience. But that music, you had like Churches and Deadmau5, which I don't really dislike either of them, but why are they there? They have nothing to do with anything, and I don't think the gamers really want to watch that shit. I know I don't want to watch that shit during a video games awards show. I'd much rather see more of like how they had Stephanie, the voice actor and motion capture for Quiet from Metal Gear Solid. They had her do her theme, and while the performance was for her vocal performance was less than stellar, it was at least the intention was there, and it was a decent idea. It's a game from this year that everyone played with the voice actor. A neat idea, and I give them kudos for doing that. But I just think overall these video game awards could stand to be improved in a lot of ways, and I might make a separate video entirely on what could stand to be improved. But just the overly corporate feel of it, contrasted with some of the games getting kind of snubbed in the categories, really just sends signals to me that aren't good. Especially, there was this breaking point for me when they were going to like a commercial break, and they had iJustine, who, God bless her soul, she gets so much hate, and I don't like her, I don't dislike her either, but she does not deserve all the negativity she receives. But she was like interviewing some kind of Star Wars salesman. And look, I know Disney spent $4 billion on Star Wars. I know they got to make that fucking dough back. You know, they got to make Star Wars condoms. If it can fit Star Wars on it, put Star Wars on it. If it doesn't fit Star Wars on it, like, don't sell that anymore. Make it bigger or something so you can fit Star Wars on it. But the guy's selling Star Wars to us in this little interview, and it just reached a point of like, this is just so disingenuous. This feels so wrong, it feels so forced, and it feels so uncomfortable, and it doesn't represent what I like about video games in any way, and it's not adding anything, and it doesn't feel like a celebration of video games, and it doesn't feel mature. It makes video games feel like less mature than they actually are. It's just, it was a depressing show to watch. I'm not going to ask you if you felt the same way if you didn't like the show, because I already know that the majority of people watching it in the chat were voicing their disinterest and dislike of the Video Game Awards this year. But what I do want to know is, what did you not like about the show? Which games did you feel got snubbed? Did you feel no games got snubbed? What kind of improvements would you want out of the show? And most importantly, what would be your winners for best art style? Please fucking tell me. Please tell me I'm not crazy. Please tell me it shouldn't be Ori and the Blind Forest. Unless that's your answer, then feel free to put it below. But thanks for watching, and I hope the Video Game Awards are better next year.